Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Eider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons and Polar Craft Boats, the Forward Corporation, Primal Outdoors, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Garber Chevrolet, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine radio show here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan, and glad, as always, to be with you as we continue our weekly celebration of the history and tradition of the outdoor lifestyle here in the great state of Michigan and occasionally beyond. Talk about hunting and fishing and shooting and trapping and wildlife issues and conservation issues. Occasionally we talk about things out of Lansing if they affect us as hunters and anglers. We even do some wild game cooking at the end of every show. Something I've been doing for a long, long time. I love this. I love the opportunity to sit at this microphone every week and talk about something that I love so much. Because if I wasn't doing this for a living, I'd be doing it for fun. And you and I are a lot the same way there, aren't we, right? I mean, it's more than a hobby. It's more than a pastime. It is a passion, and it is a way of life. And I love to golf. I love to ride a bike, although I didn't ride it much last summer. But I don't know if people who are into those lifestyles, golfing and sailing or whatever, nothing against it. They're wonderful. I love to golf. But I don't know if that is a passion, if that is a consuming passion that you think about all the time year round. Where those of us who hunt and fish and shoot and trap, it is. It's sometimes how we think of ourselves, sometimes how we define ourselves. So to be able to be here every week is pretty cool. As we are in the studio midweek, I look out the window and I look out the window. I look out the window and it's snowing. I look at the forecast for the weekend. It's in the 50s, at least on Saturday. Kind of a weather roller coaster, right? Frustrating, maybe. Depends on what you want to do. If you want to be ice fishing, it's frustrating. If you're enjoying some late season open water, it's kind of nice. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of winter these days, but I wouldn't mind seeing some snow and cold come in for a few days to kind of get the deer that I'm trying to hunt moving a little bit, maybe during the daylight. I actually have not been out in the past week. I just got too busy with some other things around the house and some other obligations I needed to take care of. And as I'm watching the cameras, and this is kind of sad, as I'm watching the cameras on our leased property, there's nothing moving during the daytime. Now, I realize the cameras aren't going to pick up everything out there, right? There could well be deer moving out there in the daytime. I'm just not seeing them. But the sad thing about what I just said is, and as I was saying it, I wanted to stand up and kick myself right in the rear end. I didn't see deer moving on camera, so I didn't go hunt. How pathetic is that? I can't shoot a deer from the house, from the couch, from my office. You got to be out there. And just because the daytime activity has really changed doesn't mean there's no reason not to be out there. So I need to make it a point. But listen, I promise you, by the time we talk again next week, I will have been out there. But no, I haven't been out. Deer hunting in Michigan is not what it used to be, though, right? We're just doing a behind the mic thing here in the studio. before we started to record the show, and a buddy of mine, Jeff, is up in the western UP, and he's deer hunting up there. He hasn't seen a deer. He's been up there hunting hard. He's seen a lot of wolves. And I'm not saying wolves are the only reason that the UP deer herd is down, but it is down, right? I haven't hunted up there in a few years, but all of my friends who hunt up there and live up there tell me it's down. They're just not seeing deer. And they're blaming wolves primarily. I know habitat's an issue. Habitat is a factor. Of course it is. Lack of deer yards, I get it. But wolves are certainly a factor, right? But I think about in the old days, when all the downstate people went to the UP to go hunting, because that's where the deer were, these days you're more likely to see deer in the lower peninsula, for the most part, I'm generalizing here, than you are in the UP. Seasons have changed, regulations have changed, CWD has changed things. You know, we start deer hunting in mid-September and we hunt through the end of December. Where I hunt in the central part of the lower, I can actually hunt with a rifle from November 15th to December 31st, maybe even January 1st, whatever the day is. Isn't that crazy? No wonder the deer are a little bit skittish. But still, you got to be out there, right? I'm talking to myself right now. Avery, if you're going to kill that big doe you keep talking about, you got to be out there. Pure Michigan hunt. Now would be a good time to apply. You have until December 31st. It's $5. You can apply multiple times. Pure Michigan Hunt winner gets managed waterfowl hunt, which I'm not a waterfowl hunter. I would give that away to a friend. What else is in there? The things I would be interested in would be the bear hunt, although I think I will get a third tag in the Newberry district this year. But the Pure Michigan hunt would guarantee I would get my tag of choice. And a bull elk tag. By the way, I think the December elk season kicks off this weekend there in the Pigeon River area. $5. Apply multiple times. You can apply online, you can use the app, or you can go in person to a license agent. I'll be honest with you, I don't go to the license agents. Boy, it's been a long time since I went to the local sporting goods store or up to Jay's and said, give me a fishing or hunting license, please, because it's so easy to do it online these days. That app is something else. In fact, I don't even think... I had somebody from the DNR on here a few weeks ago, and I don't remember if they said they're not printing any hunting guides or they're printing very few. And I said, why is that? They said, because nobody was using them. They would send them all out to they would pay to have these things printed. They would send them out to the license agents, and then the things would sit there. And in this case, I got to give the DNR a lot of credit. Look at if they're spending money on something that's not getting used and going to waste, then don't spend that money. Spend that money on something else. So I support the idea of having the app. Well, Avery, the old people, they're not used to doing things on their phone. Listen, I'm 65 years old, and if I can figure out how to use an app, I think most people can. And if you can't, you know somebody who does. Sometimes, I don't know in the 3 minutes we have left here how far down the rabbit hole I want to go. So I think I'll leave it at that for now. Hey, I told you last week that we were having some problems with repeat shows. And I stressed to you, if you hear a repeat Outdoor Magazine radio show, there's been a problem somewhere because we do not repeat shows. I take what I'm doing too seriously, and I take your time too seriously to waste your time by repeating a show. If you hear a repeat show, there was a problem. In this case, the problem did not originate here in the Outdoor Magazine radio studio. It did not originate with your local radio station. It did not originate with my syndicator, Talk Media Network. The problem is squarely on the shoulders of the satellite company, Westwood One. You may have heard of Westwood One. They used to be a big deal, a big player. Well, these days it appears they're just holding on. And for the last several weeks, they have caused problems with us in repeating the second hour. It's not us. It's them. We're giving them one last week to see if they can figure it out. But again, if you hear a repeat, and I always say the best way to listen to this show is on your local radio station. In this case, I'm saying if there's a repeat, it's not your local station's fault, and I will send you to the podcast. I know the podcast is right because I personally upload it, so I know it's right. I hope and I pray that this is the last time I need to make that statement about repeat shows, because it's getting old, and I'm sure it's getting old on your part too. Coming up on this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show, after the break, Bob Beaudry talks about what it's like to win the Pure Michigan Hunt. Then Ted Harpham of Darton Archery. Michigan-based Darton Archery has a whole new lineup of bows. We want to talk about that. In our second hour, Josh Mapes of Overdrive Outdoors talks about a very rewarding deer hunt he had with his daughter, also about coyote hunting. Then Nick Green of MUCC checks in. This week's Ask Avery question comes from a 15-year-old. Can you shoot sparrows? And in our third hour, we're talking fishing with Jake Romanack of Fishing 411 TV. And, of course, we wrap it all up with Wild Game Chef Extraordinaire, Dixie Dave Minar. My name is Mike Avery. This show is called Outdoor Magazine. My website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. My email address is Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com, Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Love to hear from you. Glad you're with us this week right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Battle Creek on WBCK 95.3 FM. You can hear us in Sandusky on WMIC 660 AM 95.3 FM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Iron Mountain, WMIQ 1450 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Premier Maritime Training. If you've ever wanted to get your captain's license, I think this is your best bet. Captain John Littlefield taught my captain's class, and he can help you become a licensed charter captain as well. Check out the website, pmtcaptains.com, for more info. John has classes across the state, and I'm sure you can find one that will fit into your schedule. And, you know, this is probably something, there may well be something you've thought about forever. I know in my case, I'd been thinking about being a charter captain since I was a kid. Never thought I would. But then the opportunity arose. I got in touch with John, and he walked me through the process. He can help you do the same. The website, pmtcaptains.com, pmtcaptains.com. I was talking before the break about the Pure Michigan Hunt. I will tell you right now, I am going to win the Pure Michigan Hunt. Might not happen this year, might not happen next. But sometime before I'm done here, I have this feeling I will win the Pure Michigan Hunt. Bob Beaudry knows that he will win the Pure Michigan Hunt because he did. In fact, he won it last year, and he's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Hey, Bob, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. Nice to have you.
Well, listen, it's nice to have you along with us. Tell me about this. How many times did you apply for the Pure Michigan Hunt?
You're not going to believe this.
Don't tell me. Don't tell me. Doggone it.
Hey, the story behind that was that my son-in-law, Mike Olson, he coaxed me into it. He goes, I didn't know much about the Pure Michigan Hunt back then, but he says, you could win this. You could really win this. And I thought, okay, for $5, I'm going to do a raffle ticket. And I thought about it. I thought, okay, I'm donating it to a worthy cause. No big thing. Well, then comes January 20th, and I win. I tell you what, I was speechless. I still am speechless. And I told Mike, I said, you're not going to believe what I won. And he thought I won a truck or a car. And I said, no, I won the Pure Michigan Hunt. And he said, no way. I said, yeah. I said, he was checking on my daughter's phone to verify I wasn't giving him a line of BS. But I said, no, it's a dream come true. Thanks for coaxing me into buying a ticket.
I think I'd rather win the Pure Michigan hunt over a truck or a boat.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm finding that out this year. It's been very busy, sometimes stressful, but I'll tell you what, it's enjoyable. I got one more hunt to do, and that's the elk hunt. Otherwise, I've filled all my tags.
That elk hunt actually is this weekend, as folks are hearing the show. Won't you be in the woods?
Correct. Saturday is opening day for the second season of the elk.
Now,
that's when they open up the Pigeon River area.
So remind me though, you're a hunter, Bob, right?
Correct.
So, like the waterfowl hunt, did you go out on that, or did you give that away?
No, I did all of them. Brandy Berger set us up down there in Pincumming. I'm not sure if I could say his name right, but it was right by Bay City. Queen.
Oh, Nyanquin Point. Yeah.
Nyanquin Point. We went down our opening day, and it was funny. We had myself, my son-in-law, his best friend, and his father-in-law. So the two son-in-laws and the two father-in-laws were hunting. And Cecil was the oldest in the group. He was 75. And he told us what to pick. He had all the decoys. He knew how to call. And we went out in the dark, and the motor didn't work on his canoe, so I had a paddle because he couldn't paddle. And then the two son-in-laws helped us bring us to the unit. We were in Unit 26, which is fully enclosed above the water. And I'll never forget, the first shot that started was opening. Everybody started shooting. And he called me lucky to begin because I won the Pure Michigan hunt. They announced it. Brandy announced it over the PA. And then after he saw me shooting, I had a hard time with judging the distance of the waterfowl coming in. And he goes, oh, I'm going to call you Trigger. So my nickname was Trigger for a while. I shot the first 4 birds. The dog retrieved them. And then I was the one that was shooting the most, so I was running out of ammo. But I got, out of 14 birds, I shot 7. Son-in-law shot 4, and his best friend shot 3. And Cecil was just calling in the birds. But it was a blast. I'll tell you what. It was an eye-opener for me because that was my first duck hunt, and I would do it in a heartbeat again.
Oh, that's cool. What about your bear hunt? You're a Youper. You've probably hunted bears before.
No, I've never hunted bear. I've had them come in the city limits. I had a sow and 3 cubs, and people were running. I was looking for my camera. I said, I'm going to take a picture of this. But anyways, with the bear hunt, I had to get some help. Joe Botese from Hardcore Scripture Outdoors, he used to work for me, and he goes, it'd be an honor to take you as a veteran to come up, and I'll set you with getting your first bear. So he did all the legwork, and I went up there blind the first day. I sat for 13 hours in a heavy downpour, hot, and wind conditions that moved that tree stand about 2 inches and saw nothing. The next day I went out at 2:30, sat in the blind up there at about 4:05, and my butt was sore. I mean, it was sore from sitting that long. I was getting ready to stretch up at about 6:05 Central Time, and first bear came in, second bear, third bear. I couldn't judge the size of the bear. So I took a picture, sent it to Joe, and I said, which one do I shoot? They're all shooters. Shoot the biggest. So them 3 took off. 2 more from the south came in 10 minutes later, and one was pure black in the face. I've never seen that. Nice and wide, but I couldn't get a good shot off. And I stopped and chased that one out. So here comes this bear straight at me. Goes to the pile, and I said, that's mine. So I waited for a good heart and lung shot. The bear turned a little bit to the south. That's when I took my shot, a 50-yard shot with my .308, dropped it right there at the bait pile. Then I called up Joe, and I said, hey, Joe, I got my bear. Which way did it run? It ain't running anywhere. It was a clean shot. So then he had 2 of his friends come up, and helped me tag it, drag it out. He skinned it, and he quartered it for me, so I took it and got some meat made. And then he did a Euro mount on the skull, put a plaque up, and then he is making a gun rack on the front paws and 2 pillows out of the fur.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
So it was good. It weighed 218 pounds.
Beautiful.
And I guess the average up here that's taken is 137 pounds. Now there's some bigger ones up here too. I've heard people shooting 300 to 400 pound bears up here.
So what about the elk hunt? What about the elk hunt? To me, that's the cream of that's the best thing of the whole Pure Michigan hunt, because you get your choice on seasons and you get a bull tag. So what are you thinking as you go into the hunt for this weekend? Do you have a goal? Are you holding out for something, Bob?
I talked to my guide, and he gave me a rundown. He said he's seen some 5x5s and 6x6s. I would love to shoot a 6x6 or bigger, because the way I understand it is this is a one and done. You shoot a Michigan elk bull, that's it for your lifetime. So I like to have something, being the first one from the UP to win this, I like to have something that's got a good size to it. Hold
on. You're the first UP winner?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yep. Eric Hillard did some checking on it and told me, he goes, you're the first UP winner of Pure Michigan hunt.
You got a lot riding on your shoulders here, Bob. You got a lot of people watching you.
Oh yes. But, I mean, I'd settle for a 6x6. I have no problem with that. As long as it's a nice, mature elk, I'm happy with it. Because I do want to get the head mounted.
Oh, sure.
This is going to be a one and done.
You know, I think about this, and even before realizing you were the first guy from the UP to win this, you put in one chance for $5. You had a chance to come down to Saginaw Bay on a waterfowl hunt in Onquin. You had a bear hunt that sounds like it was a wonderful experience with multiple animals there. You're coming downstate this weekend for an elk hunt on a bull, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Plus, I think you got some other products and stuff too, didn't you?
Oh, yes. I got a semi-automatic shotgun from Ducks Unlimited. I got a turkey set with the collar, the backpack from the Michigan Turkey Association. I got pictures from Waterfalls of Michigan, gift cards. I got traps. I got a certificate to apply for a trapping certification, which I applied for, and I'm going to do on 12/16. I got hearing protection. Oh, geez. I got so many things, it's hard to remember all of them.
Well, and I forgot all about your turkey hunt, so you must have bagged your bird too, huh?
Yes, I did the spring turkey. The fall and spring turkey is totally different season.
Oh, yeah.
Because the toms are chasing the hens, and they're not in a stable area. Unless you know where they're at, it's hard to find them. And I traveled along a lot of roads just to find a tom. And I did on the 25th of May. I finally shot my first tom. He weighed 16 pounds and had a beard of about 9 inches. But I shot the beard off him because he tilted his head down. When I shot the head, I took the beard and severed it. So I had to pick up the beard and glue it together. And then in the fall season, they start doing this molting or molting or whatever they call it, where they lose their feathers.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this one was a nice one. I shot him at about 40 yards with Joe Bottese watching. I had to hold my shotgun up for 15 minutes waiting for a clean shot because there was a smaller tom and 6 hens around him that were kind of like shielding him. So when he stuck his head up and started to roost, that's when I took the shot, and I got him at 40 yards.
Bob Beaudry, listen, I gotta let you go because we're out of time, but congratulations on winning the Pure Michigan hunt, being the first guy from the UP to win that, and with just one chance in the barrel. Congrats on that. I will look forward to seeing how your elk hunt goes. Send me a picture, right? Email me a picture to Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. And if you want to apply for the Pure Michigan hunt, you can do it online, michigan.gov/Pure Michigan Hunt. We'll take a break. Ted Harpham coming up right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Alpena on WZTK. That's 105.7 FM. You can hear us in Flint on Sports Extra 1330 WTRX. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Marquette, WDMJ 1320 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Killer Food Plots. Michigan-based, family-owned Killer Food Plots. Now, I realize you're not out putting in food plots right now. You're probably out hunting over your Killer Food Plots. But don't forget that also Killer Food Plots has a line of scents that includes a cover scent and an attractant. And you know what? As you're sitting out there right now hunting, it's a good time to be thinking about your food plot planting plans for next year. KillerFoodPlots.com is the website, KillerFoodPlots.com. I mentioned that Killer Food Plots is a Michigan-based company. You know I love to work with Michigan-based companies. Darton Archery is a company that I have worked with for many, many years. I have much respect for Darton. They've been around the archery scene for more than half a century. A few years ago, Darton was sold, but their manufacturing process for Darton Archery is still right here in Michigan. And the guy at the helm these days, Ted Harpham, a good friend of mine. I saw online here a few days ago that Darton had this huge, very cool unveiling of a brand new lineup of bows, and I thought this is a great time to get Ted on the air to talk about that. Ted's a very busy guy, but he's going to give us a few minutes this week, and Ted Harpham, I do certainly appreciate it. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, Mike, how's it going?
It is going great, and it looks to me from the outside. I'll rephrase. How are things going at Darton? It looks like you got a lot going on these days.
Yeah, Mike, it's been absolutely crazy. You know, I've been here just about 25 years, and this last year has been nothing short of amazing. We're launching 8 new bows this year, 2 new crossbows, 4 new bows. It's just been amazing. That's all I can say.
Ted, how has it been 25 years that you've been at Darton?
I know. I keep thinking the same thing. It's like, oh, my gosh. Yeah, we've been around a long time, buddy, I'll tell you.
So just to clarify, and I don't want to misspeak here, your bows are still made in Hale, aren't they?
Yes, sir. Everything's built and manufactured right here in Hale, Michigan. Nothing's changed. Randy Kitts with Black Eagle Arrows is now the owner of Darton Archery and with Conquest Stabilizers as well. It's kept everything right here, hometown right in Hale, Michigan. We build it here. We manufacture it here. Everything's done right here at the plant.
All right. So how have the products evolved? How have they changed? I mean, I go back to that first Darton SL50, the very first compound I ever shot. And this is probably, 40 years ago, 35 years ago. And I still have that. It was signed by Rex Darlington. If I take that in my hand and look at it, how would it compare to these new lineup of bows?
Oh, Mike, I'll tell you. Well, number one, they've become a lot lighter. They've become more compact. Performance has always been one of Darton's fortes. And to let you know, that Rex Darlington is still here and is still leading our cam design in our engineering department to keep these bows shooting, as fast and as good and as smooth as he always has. So that's a real, hats off to Rex. I mean, he's been here a long, long time, and he's done just a phenomenal job. Probably, I hate to categorize it like this, but it's probably the oldest engineer in the industry.
I think he's got to be, but he's got the chops and he's got the knowledge and he's still got the vitality to be a player.
Yeah, no, he's spot on. Has done a terrific job for us. We have a new cam system again, and he's done just a tremendous job for us. We have a system called our E system, which was a system that was very, very unique, and it created a draw cycle unlike any other bow manufacturer's been able to do. But there's some plus and minuses with that because of the hysteresis and the pulleys and all the things and all the moving parts. Well, now he was able to redesign a cam to take away the E system and still get all that performance, all that super silky smooth draw cycle, extend our draw lengths. And in the midst of doing all that, we've upgraded our materials. We're running 70-75 aluminum on everything now. It's been just a phenomenal turn.
Ted, we've seen an evolution in the archery industry. For a while, it was speed, the fastest you could make it. Even if it meant sacrificing shootability, you might get some hand shock with that speed. And then we went into another cycle. It's like, well, let's not worry about speed so much. Let's go to shootability. Let's go to a smooth, no vibration. Where are we at these days?
Well, I'll tell you what's really been good for us is when Randy has purchased Darton Archery, he's brought along his whole stable of pro shooters, and what they've done is they've come and helped us do some things that we were unable to do before, and that's really, really work on precision tolerances, and that has changed everything. The tolerances are so much tighter and so much better. You'll notice the difference immediately when you're shooting the new Darton bows. We have a bow now. It's called our Consequence coming out this year, and the numbers on this thing is nothing short of amazing. It's a 29.5-inch axle-to-axle bow with a 7.5-inch brace height. Mass weight is 4.3 pounds. The draw links go from 26 to 31.5, 50, 60, 70 pounds. But it also comes with adjustable draw stop posts that can give you 87 to 80% let off as well too. And this bow's all out of 70-75 aluminum, 1/4-inch axles. I mean, everything, roller guard, the new BBS system, the cam system. And, Mike, we're going to retail this bow for $699.
Ooh, that's a good price these days.
Head turner.
Hang tight, Ted. We got to take a break. Hang tight, Ted. We got to take a break here. We're talking to Ted Harpham of Darton Archery, the website dartonarchery.com. That's dartonarchery.com. Go to that website. You can see the new lineup of bows, the new crossbows as well. But we will continue to talk about those new products after the break right here of Ted Harpham, dartonarchery.com. Coming up in our second hour, we're going to talk with Josh Mapes of Overdrive Outdoors, Nick Green of MUCC, and in hour number 3, Jake Romanack of Fishing 411 and Wild Game Chef Dixie Dave. All coming up this week right here on Outdoor Magazine. Welcome back to the Outdoor Magazine Show. My name is Mike Avery. You can hear the show on more than 30 stations across the great state of Michigan, including WKYO and WIDL in Caro. That's 1360 AM, 92.1 FM. You can hear us in Sheboygan on Big Country Gold, WCBY, 1240 AM, 100.7 FM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Escanaba on WCHT. That's 600 AM, 93.5 FM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Matt Smith Outdoors Realtor. Matt is a longtime friend of mine. He's an expert at finding recreational properties, vacation homes, and he can help your family turn a dream into a reality. Learn more online at Matt Smith Outdoors on Facebook and on Instagram. And by the way, too, if you're looking for a new home as your primary residence, Matt can help you out there as well. That's Matt Smith Outdoors on Facebook and Instagram. Matt was with us at our Wednesday night live at the Lumberjack restaurant this past week. So was Ted Harpham of Darton Archery. Ted's wife, Sherry, also generously provided some freaking pickles. Ted's got his hands in everything. And if you haven't tried these freaking pickles, you've got to do that. Anyway, Ted, a couple of questions here before we let you go. It used to be that if you were in the archery business and you wanted to unveil new products, you did that at the ATA, the Archery Trade Association show, which happens in January. These days, I see companies like you and Darton and others, you're jumping the gun here. You're unveiling these products online. What's the line of thinking these days? Is that show even a player these days?
Well, it still is, Mike, and it's a great way for us to showcase, our bows and get a lot of the dealers all collectively together at one time. And of course, everybody's launching bows at different times of the year now. We try to give our dealers, the opportunity to sell through what they purchased the year before. So we're unveiling our stuff here, the latter part of November, the first part of December, and then going forward. So with our new crossbows and our new bows, it seems to work the best for us.
Speaking of crossbows, where is the industry today? For a while, it's like crossbows were the hottest thing out there. Then people tended to go back to the compounds. What's the mix these days at Darton, Ted?
Well, Mike, we're actually seeing, with our compound line and our crossbow line, about a 50-50. And maybe it's even switching back now, maybe 60-40 to the compound line. But we've got two tremendously new crossbows that are just great shooters. We've got the Renegade 370 and the Outlaw 420, which, if you look at the name, you can see what we're recommending. That's what their speeds are. But there's just so many new features. And you can look at all these bows, every one that I've talked about. The crossbows, I'll be bringing with one of those tonight with me as well to our meeting up at Forwards. But the Renegade 370 is a remarkable crossbow. This bow it's got a 12.5-inch power stroke, peak weight's of 195. The mass weight of this bow is only 8.9 pounds. It's shooting over 370 plus. Its overall length is only 30 inches. It's got some new patents on it, our new foot stirrup patent on it. We've got some new anti-dry fires, our triggers. It's just a great, great crossbow.
It's amazing the technology that goes into archery gear today. You look at a crossbow, and there's so much energy stored in that thing. Even before you cock it, man, you got to make sure these things are built right to be safe.
Yeah, exactly. There's no question about it. Randy Kitts and Rex has always been that way as well too. We have always put extra effort into everything that we do, especially in these crossbows, to make sure that they are the absolute safest piece of hunting equipment, shooting equipment, target equipment that you can get. And what we've done now at Darton, since Randy's taken over, is we have actually now we powder coat our limbs. And when we do what we call a color fusion process as well, we're adding up to 30% more structural stability to that limb. So we just don't have these limb problems like a lot of companies are having out there today.
Well, Darton is a wonderful story. Been around for a long time. I got to be honest, I was concerned with the change of ownership that you guys would leave Michigan. I'm so glad that hasn't been the case, because as far as I'm concerned, Darton is a Michigan, well, a tradition. You've been around that long. I'm going to consider you a Michigan outdoor tradition.
Yeah, it's been a fantastic ride. Everybody can see stuff at www.dartonarchery.com. Our website is phenomenal. We've got Black Eagle arrows, Conquest stabilizers, all of our accessories that we have, and it'll give you a wealth of information. We've worked hard on our website.
I can see that. DartonArchery.com, DartonArchery.com. Ted Harpham, always a pleasure. I enjoy working with you and Darton, and let's stay in touch.
Sounds good, Mike. Thank you so much for having me on.
Always a pleasure. Ted Harpham of Darton Archery. Again, the website, dartonarchery.com, dartonarchery.com. The first bow I ever owned was a Darton, an SL50. There was a time when if you were a bow hunter and you weren't shooting traditional, you were shooting a compound, you were shooting a Darton, and it was an SL50. And I look at that thing today, and it looks so basic compared to what the bows are today. But the goal was the same, right? Get that bow in your hand, get out in the woods, and go hunting with it. And that's what archery still is today. I'm a big fan of Darton. DartonArchery.com, DartonArchery.com. We'll take a break for the top of the hour. When we come back in our second hour, we're going to talk with Josh Mapes of Overdrive Outdoors. Josh, he had a hunt here a few weeks ago with his daughter, and he got it all on video. His daughter, she shot a beautiful buck. Josh was so emotional, you can hear it in his voice. I think he started to cry, and that's good. I like that. We'll also talk about coyote hunting, of course. And then Nick Green of MUCC will check in as well. And at the end of the hour, we will answer this week's Ask Avery question about, can you shoot sparrows? Is it legal? That and more coming up in hour 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Eider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons and Polar Craft Boats, the Forward Corporation, Primal Outdoors, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Garber Chevrolet, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, but I think Ken must have made a mistake there. He said 4 decades. That's more than 40 years. That would mean, wait, no. I am an old guy, but I embrace that. What that means is that I just have a little more experience these days. I really don't believe I have any more knowledge. I don't have any expertise. I don't consider myself an expert in anything. But the fact that I've been around for a while I don't know, it's kind of cool, actually. It just means, for one thing, that I have a big network of people I can reach out to and tap their knowledge. Before I get too far into this, though, welcome to hour number 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan. And I really do believe the best way to listen to this show, if you can, is on your local AM or FM station. Now, I'll say once again, the last few weeks there has been a problem with repeats of the show, particularly the second hour of the show. This is not me doing this. This is not the guys here in the studio with me doing this. This is a technical issue with a satellite company that we are working very, very hard to resolve. If it's not resolved very, very soon, we will find a different way of distributing the show. I take this very seriously. I would not waste your time with a repeat. If you do run into a repeat, and I can't believe I'm saying this because I never say this. Again, this is a radio show. Listen on your local radio station if you can. But it is nice to know if there is a glitch, a technical backup, a technical problem, there is a backup. And it's called a podcast. You will hear people talk about podcasting all the time these days. Yeah, check the latest podcast. It drops. Podcasts don't drop. Podcasts are uploaded and then you download them. Podcasts don't drop. Podcasting is hot these days. It's a great way to reach people. I make a podcast of the Outdoor Magazine available as well. You can hear it on my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. It's on my Facebook page. It is everywhere you can hear a podcast. Amazon, Audible, Twitter, now called X, LinkedIn, Apple Music, Google Play, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, yada, 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 YouTube, yada, yada, yada. Sounds like I'm doing a cell phone commercial now, doesn't it, when I say yada, yada? Regardless of how, and I also do, I do like podcasting. In fact, when we're done with the radio show today, I'll be here in the studio to record this month's Offshore Tackle podcast with Nick DeShano of Offshore himself. So a lot of ways to stay in touch. Regardless of how you are hearing my voice, though, I do certainly appreciate it. When I was talking earlier about, being around for a while, and it gives you a pretty good network of people to reach out to. Josh Mapes is one of those people. Josh, a very cool guy. Great guy, family guy, hardcore hunter. You can find him over at Overdrive Outdoors on Facebook and YouTube. And he's going to join us now for a few minutes here on the radio show, and I appreciate it. Josh, welcome back. How are you?
Thank you, sir. Doing well. How are you?
I am doing great. Before we get into talking about predator hunting, I got to talk with you, hopefully, about an experience you had a few weeks ago here in the Michigan woods with your daughter on a deer hunt. It was one of the, I wasn't even there, obviously, but watching the video, seeing the pictures, man, it was cool. Tell me about that, Josh.
Yeah, my daughter this year, I've got 3 kids, and I know you've got kids too, Mike, and the thing with me is learning how to get my kids involved in what I love without forcing it into them. And with my boys, a lot of me taking them hunting was, hey, you guys going with me tonight? Well, I don't want to go. Well, I didn't ask if you wanted to go. I said you're going with me tonight. And, me thinking that was going to help them get into it and love it, I think actually did the opposite of that. When you're forced to do something you really don't want to do, you're probably not going to end up enjoying it the whole time. So my daughter this spring said, Dad, I think I want to try to shoot a buck this year. And I said, well, if you're serious, we'll go practice with the gun, and we'll get you all set up and ready, and we'll go get the blind ready and everything. And she definitely was interested in doing it. So we've had a 350 Legend for the past couple of years for the kids. I mean, 350 Legend, I know that's what you shoot also, right?
Yeah, I like it. I think it's a good gun, but yeah, for kids, a great gun.
Right, and very little recoil. It's accurate. I mean, inside of 100 yards for sure. It's just a great shooting gun for the kids. So my daughter practiced with that. And during the youth hunt, she actually made a poor shot on a doe that we weren't able to find. And in the video of that one, I could see that when she'd pull the trigger, she would look away from the scope. So she didn't ever know where she was actually settling the crosshairs but before she shot. And she wants to be like wildlife rehabilitator when she grows up. So her problem is, Dad, I want to hunt, but I don't want to see the bullet kill the deer. And I'm like, well, babe, we gotta we're going to have to work through that, because if you're going to accurately shoot, you need to continue aiming the scope until it hits the deer. And we practiced some more after that youth hunt loss, and it was November 16. It was the second day of gun season. You know, she's still out there just wanting a buck. Well, on opening morning, she didn't see any deer. I took my son opening evening. He didn't see any deer. And she said again on the 16th, Dad, I'm going to get up and go with you. So my 10-year-old daughter wakes up at 5 a.m. to go with me, and we go out to the blind. And we've got access to a little piece of private land. It's got a lot of deer at it. It's just not a spot that I hunt, because it's just such a good spot to take the kids to go and have usually at least some deer to be seen. Instead of sitting out there being bored the whole time, usually they can put their eyes on something. And, you know, right away off the bat, we had 3 does within like 15 yards of the blind, but out the wrong side of the blind. So she couldn't turn the gun and actually make that shot. And she says, I don't know if I'm ever going to get a deer. And I'm like, you know, this is only your first season. You've been out like 5 times. You go, you better relax a little bit, you know. And it was 8:04 in the morning. I see a doe coming across the top of this hill, and right behind her, Mike, all I see is white antlers coming. And, you know, I'm hoping for her first deer to be a spike, 4-point, you know, Michigan 11-point, they call them. I'm hoping for the normal first buck to come out. And this deer was far from the normal first deer. She ended up settling the crosshairs on this big 8-point, right about 120 yards. And I know I sent you the video link. She smacked that buck. I mean, right where she needed to. And he went down within about 15 yards of where she hit him. And Mike, emotions, man, I don't even know how to describe what all was going through our heads at that time, besides hooting, hollering, hugging, making phone calls, calling her grandma. That was the first person she wanted to call. I got to call Meemaw. I got to call Meemaw. Even before her own mom, she had to call my mom. So it just, yeah, for the first experience for her to have a buck down like that, just unbelievable, Mike. And I don't know how to explain anything.
Is that video on the Overdrive Outdoors YouTube channel?
Yes, sir. It's Girls Hunt 2, I think is what I called it, because that's one thing we're starting to see a lot more females get into hunting, and it's awesome. So I named it Girls Hunt 2, and yeah, it's one of our biggest videos we've ever put out.
Well, and there's a reason for that, Josh, and I would encourage people, if they're online or on YouTube at all, go check this out, Overdrive Outdoors Girls Hunt 2, because the thing I enjoyed about this was obviously seeing your young daughter in the woods. That was great. But the emotion from you after that shot is wonderful.
It's hard to explain what all goes through your head at that time, but all the practice, all the training, all the talking. I mean, after that youth hunt deer, almost every day I'd be like, hey, Olivia, when you go to shoot at a deer, what do you do? And she'd say, keep my eyes open and keep aiming. Well, you know, she was getting sick of me asking it. But then to see that all come through on a buck that's bigger than any buck I've ever taken, and I've been hunting, this is my 23rd season, I think. Never taken one that big. It's like, just couldn't have worked out any better. And, you know, as far as I'm concerned, if that deer wasn't meant to be her deer, he would have stayed in the woods. He would have taken that doe somewhere else, or somebody else would have gotten him before she did. And he just happened to walk out, give her a shot. She did everything she needed to. She deserved it.
Well, you know, when I hear the story about her not recovering a doe during the youth hunt, that could have gone the other way, Josh. That could have, it could have changed her perception of hunting completely.
Absolutely. And she said that. She said, Dad, I didn't want that to be my first experience. And I kept having to tell her, you know, as long as you hunt, there's going to be those times. You know, I've been hunting a long time. I still make shots that I don't intend to make. Not the most perfect shot. Deer that I have to put down with a second shot. You know, it still happens to everybody. But she kind of figured that out. You know, we went and searched for hours for that doe. And I told her, you know, either way, that deer's not going to go to waste. It might not go to us. It might go to the critters that live in the wild. It's not going to go to waste, but you just have to learn from this. And if it's something you don't enjoy, losing a deer, it's all that more it makes you practice all that harder and think about that shot a lot harder before you take it to make sure that you're focused on doing it as quickly and ethically as you can.
Josh Mapes, you are a great mentor. You are a great dad. I've enjoyed this story. We got to take a break. When we come back, let's switch gears a little bit. We'll talk a little bit about predator hunting with Josh Mapes of Overdrive Outdoors. Again, if you are on YouTube, if you have access to YouTube, access to the internet, really, you got to check this out. Overdrive Outdoors YouTube channel, Girls Hunt 2, and you can see the video of the hunt that Josh is talking about. And the emotion between dad and daughter, it's a beautiful thing. And when I talk about history and tradition of the outdoors, this is the best example I can think of this. Overdrive Outdoors YouTube, Girls Hunt 2. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Houghton Lake on the Twister 92.1 WTWS. You can hear us in Holland on WHTC, that's 1450 AM, 99.7 FM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in the Sioux on News Talk 1400 WKNW. This segment of Outdoor Magazine, speaking of north of the bridge, this segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by... You know that sound by now, don't you? You want to hear it again? Okay, it's just a satisfying sound. Here it is. That is the sound of my Rapid River knife locking open. I pulled it out of my pocket. I put it up in front of the microphone so you can hear that sound. I love Rapid River. Michigan-based, family-owned. You know I love that. Company that makes custom knives. Beautiful pieces of art. Listen, you've probably still got time to get one as a Christmas gift. Certainly, if you go to the showroom on US 2, just east of Rapid River, you can pick one up. If you go to the website, rapidriverknifeworks.us, you can browse the selection. I think you still have time to pick one up before Christmas, have it shipped to you and engraved. It's a great Christmas present. Again, the website, rapidriverknifeworks.us. While you are online, check out my website, please, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Also, go over to Overdrive Outdoors. They are on YouTube and Instagram, and Facebook and YouTube. And the most recent video that Josh Mapes of Overdrive put up there on the YouTube channel is a deer hunt of him and his daughter, and it's a beautiful thing. But I know Josh first and more for coyote hunting, predator hunting. Josh, are you, and in fact, I saw you were just out the other day. So if you had to choose a night out there with you hunting coyotes, which you're so good at and so well known for, and a morning in your blind with your daughter, I got to believe it's a hands down decision.
Yeah, I definitely, coyotes don't taste that good. And the factors of fun and everything go up when you got a little kid in there that's just as excited to be out there as you are, so coyotes will take a second-hand plate to that one for sure. But
predator hunting is such a big deal in Michigan, and is it what? If it's just a way to fill the void between deer seasons, or how do you look at predator hunting, coyote hunting?
Well, yeah, to begin with, I originally started coyote hunting mostly because if I didn't find something to do, I was probably going to end up in trouble. I mean, I was one that was never worried about doing things and possibly getting in trouble, and I found hunting, and that is what kept me out there doing something I loved. I mean, when you got downtime, idle hands, that's when stuff can happen that shouldn't be. So I found coyote hunting as a way to just keep me out in the woods. I love being in the woods. I love being in the fields. To begin with, I was only out there ever in daylight for deer, for rabbits, for squirrels. And then coyote hunting became a thing that I was trying to learn. And anymore, between deer season and deer season, I mean, I've got nothing else to really hunt. Small game a little bit, but coyotes are one that, I've gotten so many opportunities to work with a bunch of cool landowners, meet a ton of people that I never would have without coyote hunting. And for me, yeah, it's just another way now that I can get out there. I can make connections with landowners. I can hear cool stories from the older folks that, own these farms and it's been in their family for 100 years. I love all aspects of coyote hunting, all the way down to being able to drag one out in the field. But, being out there in the middle of the night, which is when we usually do it, if you've never done it, that's just peaceful. I mean, the loud noises of the hustle and bustle of the normal life are gone. And the only thing you're thinking about out there is, the next sound you're going to be playing, the next place you're going to be going.
See, that's what I was going to ask you. Why nighttime? Why go out there in the middle of the night? It's dark, it's cold. Why not go out there in the daytime when it's easier? You can see what you're doing.
Well, and I've killed a lot of coyotes in the daytime, and you can still, it's all about how you set up at that point in time. In the middle of the night, you can get them to cross a wide open field, a half a mile like it's nothing. Now, in daytime, they try to stick to that cover a little bit more, so you have to really alter your setups. But for me, being a family guy, I've got a job, I got a mortgage, I got all these bills that you got to pay. I can't skip out on work or family time in the middle of the day. So when my kids and wife are about ready for bed and I'm still awake, I can say, hey, I'm going to go hunting for a little bit. And there's never a problem with it because they're going to be sleeping anyways.
So what is the trick with coyotes these days? I feel like because it's become so popular, because guys like you, Josh Mapes at Overdrive Outdoors, have done so much to promote it, more and more people are getting into it. And I feel like these dogs are maybe in some ways getting more educated, maybe getting harder to hunt than they were a few years ago.
Well, and there's truth to that for sure. I mean, like me, for instance, I have almost 700 different sounds on my electronic call that I can run through. There's not that many people out there that are dedicated enough to spend the money on 700 different sounds. So I've got sounds that are, the typical sounds played in Michigan are rabbit distress, pup distress, bird distress occasionally. I like to go out there and howl. I like to talk to the coyotes. I like to, quote unquote, from Primo, speak the language of the coyotes. And I also have sounds on my call that have been recorded by me. I've got sounds that my boy recorded with his own voice of pup distress sounds that nobody else in the entire world has. And I can go out there and play those sounds that coyotes have never, ever heard. And if they did, it was the last sound they heard. I've got sounds like crying baby from Tony Tebby down in New Mexico, screaming monkey distress. I've got weird sounds that not the typical people are just going to go out there and play or even bother to purchase to put on their sound on their call. In Michigan, I've killed from anything from crying baby distress to antelope fawn distress. We don't have any antelopes in Michigan. We don't have any jackrabbits in Michigan. And the average guy is thinking that, and that's how I started too. Why would I want to sound like anything that doesn't even exist in this state? Well, at the same point, it doesn't matter what we sound like to us. That coyote hears a sound that entices it enough to come in. That's what matters.
Okay, you're making a light bulb go off here. I hear what you're saying. Coyotes are predators and they're opportunists. They're looking for something to eat, something to fill their belly, and they don't necessarily associate the sound of what it is, but the fact that it's in distress, and that's what gets their attention.
Exactly, and that's you got different things you can hit on. You can hit on their hunger, their food need. You can hit on territorial needs, as in, I'm going to howl out there and act like I'm coming into another coyote's territory, and a lot of them don't like that. Then you got, like, breeding sounds. Well, if a coyote hears breeding going on in his territory, he's going to come try to find out what's going on in his bedroom, And then you got, like, pup distress, which pup distress works year-round, and it's kind of a shrewd way to explain it, but no matter how old a dog is, if you step on its tail, it's still going to make that same whimper. So a pup distress sound isn't just referring to like a newborn puppy getting eaten by another coyote, which does happen in the wild, but it's always that sound of another coyote in distress. And, you've got to hit on all these different things. And sometimes you might not even get that far. You might kill off the first 5 minutes of rabbit distress. But you have to have all these tools in your arsenal to go, okay, I'm not finding anything hungry. Now let me see if I can find one that just doesn't want another coyote around or wants to come introduce itself to another coyote that's all of a sudden now in the area. So you have to your tool belt has to be wide open as far as what you can play and how many different scenarios you can play with to try to get one to come in.
So obviously calling is a key factor. It's a big factor. But, I'll go back to my background as a fisherman. Doesn't matter what you're doing if you're in the wrong spot. You got to be somewhere where coyotes are. Is that just about everywhere these days, or have you got to get way back off the beaten track now?
No, they're pretty much everywhere. I've got spots where I could walk 50 yards from my truck, be standing in somebody's field, and I'll call them right in past my truck and everything, and they don't even care about it. I don't go, man, when you carry as much stuff as I do as far as video cameras, calls, gun, tripod, all that, I try to keep my walking to a minimum, because walking out 400 yards and then shooting a coyote at 200 yards, now you got a 600-yard drag across the field that right now, wet clay fields, you're going to add about 40 pounds to yourself as you're walking out of a clay field. So I try to, not go nearly as far as I would for, let's say, deer hunting. Deer hunting, I don't mind walking back and just trying to get away from the crowds. Coyote hunting, you can call them right up main roads in the middle of the night, because as long as there's no traffic, and even when there's traffic sometimes, we've called coyotes down main roads, watched them run down the road, a car comes, it jumps off the road, and it's just standing there as a car goes by. So in the middle of the night, you can get them to do a lot of things that they normally aren't going to do in the daylight. Cross wide open fields, just do things that you wouldn't think a smart coyote would ever do.
Well, and you're watching them, in a pretty high tech way, right? You thermal night vision. How are you doing things these days?
Yeah, so I've got a thermal monocular, and for anybody that doesn't understand thermal, it's picking up a heat image, a heat signature out there. So I can see mice running across field 400 yards away in the middle of the night, because it looks like a little tiny white golf ball running around the field. If a coyote comes out into a field anywhere within, let's say, a mile of me, I can see it in the middle of the night with no lights on, no nothing, just this thermal monocular. And I have a high-quality 640 core, so it's a very high image quality thermal scanner, so that when I'm seeing these things coming in, I can determine right off the bat what kind of an animal it is. Is it a deer? We call in deer all the time to fawn distress, especially in the summertime when fawns are dropping. Fawn distress brings in a lot of coyotes, but it brings in a whole ton of does that want to see what's going on over there. So I have to be very careful with what you shoot. You have to identify your target. So when I've identified that it is for sure a predator, I have two different rifle setups. I have night vision and I have thermal. Night vision for me, I use a lot more in areas where I know particular landowners might have farm dogs that are left out for the entire night, and we've called them in. When you have night vision, you can get that 100% guaranteed identification of that animal before you pull the trigger. Now, if I'm in an area that it'd be very rare to see anybody's dog, that's where I'm going to use thermal, and I'm just much more effective with that.
Josh, obviously, we can talk, and we will talk more about this. I'm out of time for this time around, though. Want to get you back on the show. Josh Mapes of Overdrive Outdoors. Check out their Facebook page and the YouTube channel. You can see more of what Josh is talking about. Interesting guy, interesting way of hunting, and a lot of fun as well. Overdrive Outdoors on Facebook and YouTube. Thank you, Josh. Appreciate your time. We'll take a break. Come back with Nick Green of MUCC right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Houghton Lake on 98.5 WUPS. You can hear us in Lansing on WILS 1320 AM, and you can hear us north of the bridge, WNBY 1450 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by the Linwood Beach Marina and Campground. Linwood Beach can be your year-round Saginaw Bay fishing destination and waterfowl hunting destination and ice fishing destination if there is ice. Now, I know that right now the folks at Linwood Beach they want ice fishing, but as long as Mother Nature isn't cooperating, they're going to keep the docks in the water in the boat launch there as long as possible. And right now, it looks like Mother Nature is favoring open water anglers more than ice anglers. Doesn't matter. Linwood Beach has you covered either way. Check them out online at linwoodbeachmarina.com. That's linwoodbeachmarina.com. want to turn our attention now to MUCC, Michigan United Conservation Clubs, a group I'm a member of, a group that I support. I think they're doing a great job. I really do. In today's world, like it or not, we have to become active. Not necessarily politically active, but we have to become active in supporting what we believe and getting involved with the groups that do the work that we want to get done, but we can't do it on our own. All right, enough of the preaching. Nick Green of MUCC along with us on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Nick, I sometimes go off on a tangent on this because I believe that outdoorsmen and women, intrinsically, we are not joiners, we are not activists, and we don't like it. We're loners, but the world's changing, and I think we have to change with it. Maybe that's unfortunate, but I think it's a fact. What do you say?
Yeah, I mean, when you think about other things you like to do and other things that we kind of take for granted here in Michigan, you know, a lot of those activities, a lot of those endeavors have folks who are lobbying for you or working on your behalf in Lansing. And the same should be said for hunting, angling, and trapping. You know, I mean, Michigan United Conservation Clubs really doesn't have a counterpart here in the state, and we are the voice for hunters, anglers, conservationists at the Capitol. And as you noted, you know, folks aren't always going to agree with us 100% of the time, but I haven't had anyone clearly enunciate to me yet ways that they have not been, you know, their hunting and fishing has not been approved by MUCC. So whether, you know, you fish for walleye, you fish for perch, you duck hunt, you deer hunt, you pheasant hunt, you know, you upland game, rough grouse hunt, turkey hunt, whatever it might be, through our 87 years of existence, we have worked on things that have bettered all of those habitats, species, kind of pursuits we enjoy here in Michigan. So there really is another organization that can say that. We're pretty proud of that.
87 years, that's got to make you one of the, well, if not, didn't I read somewhere you might be the oldest statewide conservation group in the country?
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely still in existence. We're certainly one of the biggest, if not the biggest. And there's a reason that, you know, when New Jersey loses bear hunting, that doesn't happen in Michigan. When folks out west are losing their ability to chase cats, that doesn't happen in Michigan. That's because we have an organization like MUCC, and like it or not, we're in the halls of the Capitol. We're at every Natural Resources Committee meeting, and we're making sure that our rights as hunters and anglers are continued to be perpetuated into the future.
You know, it's interesting you say like it or not. I wouldn't personally like that. I would not want to be in those meetings. I would not want to be following the legislative process. I would not want to be lobbying legislators. But, man, it's nice that there are people that do that, and it's nice that you and Amy and the other folks there at MUCC have the connections and have the ability and have the will to do this type of thing. So I thank you, Nick.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I'd like to add that that's only one part of our organization. You know, we do a lot of habitat work. We do a lot of state land improvement around Michigan, do a lot of education. We've had almost 60,000 kids come through our youth camp since its inception. So we do a lot of great work other than policy advocacy, but that's kind of the seed from which all this grows. You know, without our ability to hunt, without our ability to fish, trap, and be conservationists, none of the other parts of our organization are whole. So we really like to pride ourselves on our policy advocacy and then having the reach that we do across the state.
Big push coming up this year for membership at MUCC. Why is that? Is that something just to pat yourself on the back and say, look at all of our members, or is there something more?
No, I think we've really seen a trend toward grassroots movement being effective with the legislature, and we want to bring more members into our fold in order to be effective, right? So we had a bad commercial fishing bill drop. We immediately put out an action alert, and we sent almost 85,000 emails related to that bill. I mean, that's unreal. And quickly we heard from legislators, from sponsors of that bill, hey, you know, we're not really supportive of this anymore. So it worked. So this push is to get more people in the door and help us be more effective when we have to have those grassroots campaigns. As we move into an age where anti-hunters are starting to gain a foothold at NRCs and commissions and getting ballot initiatives, this is going to be important to have a strong MUCC.
Nick, I used up a lot of your time. Anything we need to talk about from a timeliness perspective, or can we wait on that for a couple of weeks?
No, we'll wait on that for a couple of weeks. The governor did sign our commercial guiding bill, so we can talk about that next time we have a chance to chat, and thanks for having us.
All right, I'll look forward to that. Nick Green of MUCC, MUCC.org, MUCC.org. It's just a few bucks to join MUCC. I used to have a promo code. In fact, I may still have a promo code, but you know what? I don't even want to use it because it is so reasonably priced to join MUCC. Go to the website mucc.org. I don't want to cut into what few bucks they're making on this because it's a pretty lean operation. They're not getting rich on this. They're not doing this because they want to make money. They're doing this because they want to help out the cause, to fight the good fight, if I can use a cliche. MUCC.org. Take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, this week's Ask Avery question comes from a 15-year-old kid. He said he's more of a wildlife photographer, but he'd kind of like to get into hunting. But he has kind of a strange question about what you can legally hunt. We will answer that after the break in this week's Ask Avery segment right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine Show in Ludington on News 97, 98, 98.7 WLDN. You can hear us on the other side of the state, Port Huron, WPHM, 1380 AM, and north of the bridge in Manistee on WTIQ, 1490 AM, 95.3 FM. The Ask Avery segment is brought to you each week by the good folks at Security Credit Union. Security Credit Union loves to work with outdoorsmen and women, and they can help you with your next outdoor adventure. Check them out online at securitycu.org. That's securitycu.org. By now, you know the way the Ask Avery segment works, but just a recap if you are a new listener. This is your chance to get involved in the content of the show, the programming of the show. You can send me a question that you want me to answer directly, maybe something that I have been through or experienced or whatever that I can answer, or you can forward a question through me along to somebody else. Maybe I have access to somebody, or I can more easily reach somebody in the DNR or MUCC or something possibly than you can. The best way to get these questions to me is to send me an email, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. That's mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. And that is absolutely the best way to get them to me. I have a lot of them sent to me by Facebook messages or whatever. I often get them, maybe even usually get them, but I don't always get them. So again, please, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. That is what Gavin Reagan did. Gavin is a 15-year-old, says, "Hello, Mr. Avery. I am mainly a wildlife photographer, but I've been going with my dad and grandpa when they hunt recently, and I'm hoping to deer hunt myself next season. I have kind of a different question for you, but I was wondering if I wanted to shoot, say, a house sparrow or some other less hunted bird, what are the laws on that? Is there a season for that?" He says, "Thanks for the cool show. I look forward to it." Okay, so I obviously don't know the answers for such things, but I reached out to some folks in the DNR. They sent me to the Michigan Hunting Guide, page 65, I believe it is. Now, I realize that I'm unclear on this. I think there are a few printed hunting digests still out there, but my recommendation is go to the DNR app. All the information is there, but here's the information. I'm going to read you. Year-round hunting and trapping seasons for 23-24. And this includes more than just birds, but I'll get to the point here. Ground squirrels, including chipmunks, porcupines, red squirrels, and Russian boar may be hunted and trapped. And feral pigeon, house sparrow, starling, and woodchuck may be hunted year-round statewide with a valid base license. Let me read that again. Ground squirrels, including chipmunks, porcupines, red squirrels, Russian boar, feral pigeon, house sparrow, starling, and woodchuck may be hunted year-round statewide with a valid license. In addition, crows, house sparrows, and starling may be taken if doing or about to do damage to private property or commit depredation, crop depredation. A license or written permit is not required. So if they're doing damage, you don't even need a license. Now, since I don't see in here robins or blue jays or cardinals or anything like that, I can only assume that there is no season on those. And why would you want to shoot them anyway? So going back, ground squirrel, chipmunk, porcupine, red squirrel, Russian boar, feral pigeon, house sparrow, starling, and woodchuck, hunted year-round with a valid license. Crow, sparrow, and starling may be taken without a license if they're doing crop damage. So there's your answer. By the way, Gavin also says, he says, maybe consider videoing the broadcast and then uploading that on YouTube instead of just the audio. I think people would like that. Gavin, I appreciate you checking in. Gavin, a 15-year-old, Gavin Reagan, appreciate that very much. I remember, speaking of shooting sparrows, which is something, kids all do, right? The first thing I ever shot was a sparrow. I was out with a bunch of my buddies carrying our BB guns. I don't know if it was a Red Ryder, but it was an old Daisy BB gun shooting round BBs, spring-loaded. There was no air pressure. There wasn't pneumatic. You didn't pump it up. I mean, it was a spring-loaded, spring-powered BB gun. So you would shoot the BB, and you could literally see it make an arc. But it was how I and my brothers and all my buddies were introduced to the concept of guns, a tool that shoots a projectile. Some people might call it a weapon. It's really only a weapon if you use it on another person, right? That's how we were introduced to this concept of gun safety, of handling guns, about you don't put your finger on the trigger, you don't point it at somebody, you don't point it at something until you're ready to shoot it. The very first thing I ever shot with that thing, a bunch of us were out walking through the woods on a mock hunting trip as just kids. A sparrow landed in a tree next to me. I pulled the gun up and shot it, and it dropped. And I went, ooh, I have just taken that critter's life. So it was kind of an epiphany for me. Isn't it interesting how we're introduced to this outdoor lifestyle, to this outdoor... And isn't it interesting that like 55 years later, I remember this? Thank you, Gavin, for reaching out. Thank you, Security Credit Union, for making each week's Ask Avery segment possible. Check them out online at securitycu.org. That's securitycu.org. We'll take a break for the top of the hour. When we come back, we're going to talk a little fishing, late season open water, early season ice with Jake Romanack of Fishing 411. And we'll wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar. That's all coming up in hour 3 of this week's Outdoor Magazine.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Eider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons and Polar Craft Boats, the Forward Corporation, Primal Outdoors, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Garber Chevrolet, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Indeed, this is the big guy, Mike Avery. Thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to hour number 3 of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan. And so glad to have you along with us. As I was saying in the second hour, they were talking about 40 years in broadcasting, 40 years in outdoor broadcasting. And I've had a chance, I've been blessed to work with and get to know so many people, so many interesting people, so many experts in the outdoor field over those years. I always say I'm not an expert in anything. I have some knowledge of broadcasting, some knowledge of communication, but I'm not an expert in anything, certainly not an expert in hunting or fishing or shooting and trapping, which are the topics that I primarily cover and discuss here on the show. I'm a passionate participant. I love the outdoors. I love to be outdoors. I love to hunt and fish and be on the water and in the woods. But I'm not an expert at it, and I'm fine with that. I'm okay with that. I don't think you have to be an expert to enjoy this outdoor lifestyle. but I have much respect for people who are true experts. Here's a name for you. Here's a family name for you. And when I say this, you're going to immediately, you're going to have this image in your head. Romanack. When I say the family name Romanack to you, I know that you think fishing, you think fishing 411, you think fishing experts. And that's true. That is a reputation that goes back to Mark Romanack. Mark Romanack, a guy, we cut our teeth together. When I was a reporter back at TV5 in Saginaw, first starting to cover outdoor-related activities, Mark Romanack was a naturalist at the Greenpoint Nature Center in Saginaw. And when I look at what the Romanacks have done as a family, created this franchise, this business, this fishing 411, the precision trolling, started by Mark. Now his son Jake is working in the business and on the TV show with him. And Mark will tell you, Mark has told me, Jake is actually a better fisherman than Mark is. That's a pretty impressive statement right there, isn't it? I've known Jake forever. I've known him since he's a little guy. Now he's a big guy. He's a grown-up guy. He's a husband. He's a dad. And he's with us on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Jake, welcome back to the show. How are you?
Good, Mike. I always love your intros, man. They are the best. It put a huge smile on my face.
Well, you make me smile saying that because I was going through some old video the other day. I mean, way, way, way old. And it's video of a young Mark Romanack and a young Mike Avery doing something down there at the Greenpoint Nature Center. And it does make me smile. It brings back memories of what the Romanack family has been able to accomplish. And now you intimately involved in the business. It's got to be very rewarding for you, Jake.
Absolutely. I mean, I've said it 1,000 times, but I was pretty blessed to be born into this industry, and I work hard to stay at it and continue this lifestyle. But I was pretty blessed to literally be born. You don't get to pick your parents, but I got to pick a pretty good one, and get to basically everybody's dream of getting to hunt and fish for a living thrown in my lap. And then we all get decisions if we want to continue on with that. And obviously I wanted to continue on with that. But I'm very, very blessed.
So what is it like? And I realize you really don't have a different perspective because this is something you grew up in. But what's it like to be in the outdoor industry as a business? Not just something we get to do on the weekend for fun, but it is your business. It is how you pay your bills. What's that like? Is there a sense of pressure there?
There is. I think we just kind of look at it, Mike, like a lifestyle. You can make anything, you can kill just about any excitement in anything, right? We've decided to make fishing a business, and so there is a little bit of stress that goes along with that. But as far as I'm concerned, I don't feel like I wake up in the morning and go to work. It's just another day. We have things that have to get done, and there is business associated with the fishing. It's not just going fishing every single day, but we make the most out of it, and it just quickly becomes a lifestyle and not a job.
When you hit the road to make a TV show, to produce a TV show, is there nervousness at the beginning of the day? Is there, again, I'll go back to the word pressure, that you've got to get fish on the end of your line on camera? Or at this point, if you guys been doing this so long and you're so good at it, you just take for granted, hey, we're going to catch fish today. It's just a matter of how we put it together.
No, it's absolutely pressure, but we put the pressure on ourselves. There isn't any one person putting that pressure on us. I think that's what makes us strive to be the best we possibly can. That every single day we go fishing, we want to have the best day possible. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to catch a ton of fish every single day, but we always go into the day with the mindset that we're going to try to do the best we can possibly do. With that being said, when we are filming on location, we are spending a lot of money. We're on the road a lot, every single day in a hotel, and every single day that we're away from home, we're spending a lot of money. And so there is that pressure to try to get as quality of content as we possibly can, get the job done right, but then get back home where we can literally unpack, repack again, and be right back on the road doing another TV shoot.
Do you look at
it's self-given pressure.
Yes, I understand that. Do you look at the Fishing 411 franchise as primarily entertainment or education?
For me, I hope that people see it as education, because I think that's our niche, Mike. I mean, I was going to brag that we're just about ready to drop season 18, but 40 years, 18. We got a long ways to go, Mike. But season 18 of Fishing 411's dropping in just a couple weeks. And to me, I think the reason why we have been successful for as long as we have is the education base of what we do. We try to teach people the how-tos, the where-tos, the when-tos, and try to teach as much as we possibly can. As far as I'm concerned, me personally, when I watch outdoor television, I'm not sticking any one television show out there, but I personally get a little bit bored just watching people kill stuff or just watching people catch stuff. I want to know how they did it, and I think that's our niche. We try.
Oh, I lost you. Nick, Jake, you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Okay, no, I lost you there for a second. Yeah, I lost you just for a few seconds, but I got the gist of what you're saying. But I got to go back to 18 years. 18 years is a big deal. In a world where TV shows and TV people come and go, 18 years is indeed something to be very, very proud of.
I think that's definitely. I mean, I don't take that lightly at all. I look at a lot of TV shows that have come and gone over the years. To be national television for 18 years and people still watching, if anything, I'd like to think that we're growing in popularity each year, which is a great thing. But yeah, 18 years of television, you said that you watched some old video of my dad and yourself. I watched some old Fishing 411 stuff not that long ago. And honestly, Mike, it was painful to watch, to see where we've come from now to what it looked like back then. I guess that's a good thing, right? But it's definitely a long way.
I don't know. I may have edited one of those first shows that you're talking about. It was painful.
You got to be careful who I'm talking to. That's right.
No, I hear what you're saying. Yeah, we've got to grow. We've got to evolve. We've got to get hopefully better, but at least change and be relevant. And look, and when you know this now, when you're in the public eye, you have a target on your back all the time. So people are looking for you to screw up, or they're looking for you to not to be as good as you could be. So, you say that the pressure you put on you is self-imposed. I feel like as a public figure, like you are, your dad are, like I am, there is some pressure to always perform and always improve. And you guys as Romanacks, man, you guys have hit that out of the park every year.
Well, what's fun is that just the technology that keeps coming each year, from when we started 18 years ago to, filming with video cameras with tape and now shooting the way that we're shooting now, the equipment that we're using now. You'd asked if I want to be known as educational or entertaining. I like to think our television show is both. We put that education out there. But each year with the equipment that we're using, the quality of the content, I mean, I'm sitting here viewing television shows for this next season and making sure everything's right before they go to broadcast. And I'm very proud of the content we create. When I sit there and watch it, I feel like I'm in the boat with us. And that just goes to the quality of the video work that's come over the last few years.
In between aerial shots with drones, underwater shots, it's a full picture. It's a beautiful picture. It's Fishing 411 TV. Jake Romanack is one of the principals of the Fishing 411 franchise, along with his dad, Mark. And his mom, Mary, is also very much involved. She's a great lady. She's involved behind the scenes. Got to take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. When we come back, I want to talk more with Jake Romanack about, well, first of all, how his fall went. He's not just an expert angler. He's an avid hunter as well. I want to see how that went. I want to talk a little bit about the late open water fishing season, and ice fishing. Now, listen, here in our backyard in Michigan, depending on where you live, ice fishing season isn't what it used to be. But the Romanacks don't hesitate to jump in the truck, and they'll head north till they find ice. Is that the case? Is that what we have to do here in Michigan these days? So many things I could talk with Jake Romanack about, and we have the time to do it, and he has the time that he's offered us here. The website for Fishing 411 is fishing411.net. I think fishing411.net, fishing411.net. You can find them on Instagram. You can find them on Facebook. You can find them on YouTube. You can find them all over the place. More after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Manistee on WMLQ 97.7 FM. You can hear us on the other side of the state. Tawas, WIOS, 1480 AM, 106.9 FM. Let's jump back across. Let's go to St. Joe, WSJM 94.9 FM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by VersaSkins, Michigan-based VersaSkins. The owner, Paul Perone, has come up with a great concept. Why buy a bunch of different sets of hunting clothes when you can buy one good quality set that is warm, weatherproof, windproof, and just snap on and zip on an outer shell of a different camo pattern, so you're good to go, from blaze orange to snow to upland to whatever. And if you need big sizes, I'm talking 4, 5, 6X, VersaSkins can help you out there as well. Check them out online at versaskins.com. That's versaskins.com. While you are online, I would encourage you to check out my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com, and then jump over to fishing411.net. Fishing411.net, the website of the Romanack family, Mark Romanack and Jake Romanack as well, who do the Fishing 411 TV show. Jake is an avid outdoorsman. He grew up in the outdoors. He's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Jake, in fact, last week when I was trying to get you on, you were in the woods with your wife hunting. How did your fall season go?
We had a great fall. It's never long enough. For me personally, hunting is one of those things that we've always tried to keep separate because we've chose to make fishing a business. It could just as easily be making hunting a business too. And so for me, it's that 1 month out of the year that, I can set a video camera down and just go have some fun. And but we had fun. We went out to Saskatchewan, spent a couple weeks out in Saskatchewan duck hunting. I actually went bear hunting this year, did a little deer hunting around home, and then went out to Kansas deer hunting. So I spent quite a bit of time in the woods hunting this fall.
I was looking at your Instagram feed, your Jake Romanack Instagram feed, and I was reminded when I saw a picture of you holding an Ontario wolf. You did a wolf hunt last year, didn't you?
We did, yep. And I think we talked about that on the radio show here. That was back in January. In fact, I have a buddy that's running a guided operation up in Ontario up there, and there's a lot of wolves up there to be harvested. There's definitely an overpopulation going on up there. Oh,
it is. There are so many wolves up there, and it's a very interesting, a very intense hunt. I had a lot of fun on mine as well. Let's talk about fishing. I mean, after all, Fishing 411. Where are we at right now in this time of year? I mean, late open water, early ice, maybe somewhere, but not here. But where are you at from a mindset and trying to get things done, Jake?
I'm still very much an open water mindset being a Michigan angler. Ice is coming, and I know it'll be here eventually. A lot of years I actually go out and chase early ice out in Minnesota and out in the Dakotas. But this year I'm staying closer to home, and I'm looking at more fishing out of a boat. There's still a lot of great opportunities, fisheries like Lake Erie that, a lot of times I might even overlook Lake Erie a little bit, which is crazy to me because it's the world's best walleye fishery, but we take it for granted it's not very far from here, so we fish it so often. But a lot of great fishing in a boat to be had on Lake Erie. My dad and I a lake trout show in southern Lake Michigan, casting for them with swim baits and blade baits. So there's still a good 3-4 weeks, I would think, of quality fishing in a boat yet to be had.
Oh, yeah. Let's talk more about lake trout fishing, Lake Michigan, casting blade baits.
Yes. There's a lake trout spawns in the fall, and then after they spawn in the fall, a lot of times they'll drop back to relatively shallow water. The water's cold this time of year, so they're naturally looking for cold water, but there's cold water up shallow. There's food up shallow, and so they stay in that shallow 20 to 40 foot of water for quite some time in the fall before they head back out into the deeper water where you traditionally think of lake trout. So in the fall, there's always a really good time to be able to go and find these fish in shallower water and be able to cast for them, things like swim baits or casting blade baits. And really what you're looking for is any type of structure. If you can find any kind of rock structure, that's what's going to hold the bait. And lake trout are slaves to their stomachs. They're constantly looking for their next meal. So if you can find food, chances are you're going to find lake trout.
Man, that sounds like a riot. As much as I love to troll, and I do love to troll, there's nothing like having that rod in your hand when a fish hits, is there?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I love trolling, don't get me wrong, but there's nothing better than a rod in hand, making a cast and feeling that fish bite and setting the hook, especially on a fish like a lake trout. A lot of these fish are going to be in the, 10, 15-pound range. We might even see some fish over 20 pounds there. So it's an exciting time for sure.
I saw you guys down on on the Detroit River a few weeks ago. You were into some fall walleye. That's a resource I usually think of as a springtime fishery, but you were down there in the fall.
All these years of shooting TV shows, Mike, we've never shot a fall Detroit River television show, which is crazy to me. It just kind of slips through the cracks. Again, we like to hunt, and so we find ourselves hunting during that time frame. In fact, I was actually up in a tree stand while my dad shot that TV show down on the Detroit River. But there's great fall fishing on the Detroit River, maybe even arguably better than the spring run. These fish are coming in to do one thing, and that's feed. So in the spring, you're dealing with spawning fish. You're dealing with times where maybe they're just not hungry because they're doing what they're naturally there to do, which is spawn. But in the fall, the only reason those fish come in the river is to put on a feed bag. And so it's a good opportunity to catch a lot of fish.
Jake, of all the different fishing opportunities we have here, and we are so blessed to live in this state, surrounded by world-class fisheries, how do you decide there at Fishing 411, how do you decide what to feature, what to focus in on, where to go?
That's what I love most about what we do. And maybe even a little bit where it sounds selfish, but my dad and I will sit down every year and we make a bucket list of that year. What fisheries do we want to go to? What do we want to experience? And then we basically will make a list out and say, okay, these are the fisheries that we want to go to this year. And that's where I feel like when I say I'm blessed, that's where we're blessed. I mean, let me give you an example, Mike. We shot a TV show this year up on the north shore of Lake Erie. And you think of Lake Erie, we've been there thousands of times, but my dad and myself had never fished that north shore, in particular what we call that long point. We've looked at it on the map thousands of times. We've always wanted to go fish it, but we've never fished it. And so my dad and I sat down this year and said, we're going to do it. We're going to shoot a TV show on Long Point on that north shore of Lake Erie. We drove. We got ourselves a hotel and we went out and we fished and we caught a pile of fish. And so that's just kind of an example of, we don't really set where, a lot of cases we'll set where do we want to go and just to kind of experience different areas.
I would think by now you guys have fished just about everywhere.
We try, man. We try, but there are so many different fisheries in so many places, and everywhere we travel, it's a little bit different. So I feel it helps us. We're constantly learning every single day, too. We definitely would never claim fishing, and so every fishery you go to, it's a little bit different, and so you kind of have to adjust and figure those fish out in that particular body of water, and I think that just helps make us more of a well-rounded anglers, because we don't just target one species of fish. We target a lot of different species, and would never claim to be an expert on any of it, but we try to learn as much as we can and then teach what we've learned along the way.
Jake, I think you and your dad can truly claim to be experts. I think you're being very humble there.
Well, you'd said it earlier in the podcast, and I believe that there are experts in fields, right? I believe that there are guys that all they do is catch walleyes. They are an expert walleye fisherman, right? And there are guys that all they do is target salmon. All they do is target lake trout. But we target so many different species that it would be hard for me to claim that we are an expert in all these different species. We just spend a lot of time trying to learn as much as we possibly can about all these different species. Personally, Mike, I get bored targeting any one species, and I'm not afraid to admit that. If I just walleye fish, I know I would get bored and I'd get burned out of that. So, you walleye fish for a while, and then maybe you go salmon fishing for a little bit and, feel that screaming drag, or go lake trout fishing. There's so many different species out there, especially in this Great Lakes region. You literally could wake up every morning and say, I want to target a different species today. And it's those different fish.
Again, when I think about the Romanacks, I think about Fishing 411, I think about precision trolling. I mean, you guys have trolling just absolutely dialed in. Do we continue to learn more about trolling, or has that tactic, that technique been developed as far as we possibly can? As an example, late season trolling. Can we troll faster in this cold water than we used to think so, Jake?
I know some people are, and some people are having success with that. Personally, I still like to troll slow when it comes to cold water. I feel like I've had more success day in and day out going slow. But that's just me personally. I mean, everybody's a little bit different there. But as far as like covering trolling, have we learned all there is to learn, especially looking at precision trolling? Absolutely not. My dad and I tested a bunch of new stuff this year with precision trolling, some stuff we're super excited to put out to the public that hasn't been released yet, and things that both my dad and I are looking at for the future, things that might change trolling, 10 years down the road, what it might look like. So every single year we're learning more and more. We spend a couple weeks a year precision trolling testing, and every single year my dad and I look at each other, yes, that this device went this depth or this lure does this. And so we're constantly learning that stuff. And the precision trolling app allows us to be able to portray that quickly to our customers and to fishermen out there. If a new crankbait comes to market, we can get that tested, and then people could have that information very quickly. Back in the day when we did books, we would print books every 3 years. And so, new crankbaits would come to market. It was 3 years before people would have that information to be able to take out on the water and use. Now, crankbaits are being released at ICAST in July, and in a lot of cases before the fall fishing season, they have that information already.
And now you've got the new baits out there and the new trolling rods out there with your name on them. How cool is that?
I'm so excited about that. The Eagle Claw rods just were released here just a few weeks back, actually. They're at Jay's Sporting Goods right now. And basically, we were offered an opportunity to build our own rods. And the Starfire rods have been around literally way before my time, right? The ugly old yellow Eagle Claw rods, they were there forever. And the whole point of the Starfire rods was to have an affordable trolling rod. We wanted to stay with that, but we wanted to bring, new technology into those rods. So we brought in telescoping features. We brought in better actions. We got rid of the yellow rods and made them a little bit more pleasing to the eye. But we were able to keep that reasonable price, because when it comes to trolling rods, we buy a lot of rods. And so you don't want to have to spend a ton of money on a trolling rod. You're going to have 6, 8, 10, 12 of those rods.
Jake, always a pleasure. Jake Romanack of Fishing 411. Good luck on the water the rest of the season. Have a good show season, and I'm sure our paths will cross soon.
Absolutely, Mike. Thanks for having me on.
Always a pleasure. Jake Romanack of Fishing 411, fishing411.net. That's fishing411.net. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. A few more things I want to talk about. And, of course, we'll wrap it up with Wild Game Chef Dixie Dave Minar. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan, including WTCM in Traverse City, that's 580 AM, WKBZ in Muskegon, 1090 AM, and in Saginaw, WSGW, 790 AM, 100.5 FM. I'm in the studios of WSGW right now, but you know by now, for these 3 hours, we call this the Outdoor Magazine studio. And if you doubt it, take a look at my Behind the Mic segments online, and you can see a sign behind me that says Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. So it's not just me, man. It's legit. It's on the wall. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Reader Landscaping. Reader can take care of your lawn and property because it's your nature and our nurture. Let Reader create an outdoor getaway in your backyard as they have for me. Right now, what are we talking about with Reader? We're talking about dormant season pruning. This is a great time to have your trees shaped and trimmed up because, the guys can get over, they can see what the limb structure, the branches look like. We're talking about holiday containers on your front porch, your patio. Let Reader take care of those for you. Look, you got a lot of things on your list right now, right? Just knock that one off the list. Let the folks from Reader take care of it. And also looking forward to, well, I'm not looking forward to it, snow removal for your residence or your business. Reader can take care of that as well. Reader's like a one-stop shop for everything outdoors, property, landscape, maintenance. Let Reader take care of it. The website, readerlandscaping.com. That's readerlandscaping.com. By the way, I'm in the studio here with Jonathan Dent. John doing a wonderful job, as always. Listen, he's a young guy, right? So he hasn't been around as long as Charlie Root. When Charlie is here, People know it, and they line up on a good day. They line up at the driveway. They say, Charlie, Charlie. He's not quite there yet, okay? I mean, from skill-wise and proficiency, he's there. But he doesn't have the experience. He doesn't have the name recognition yet. I fully expect by this spring, people will be lined up out there going, Jonathan, Jonathan. What do you think, John? Would that be good? He said he'll take it. Oh, what else is on my list besides such frivolous things? Weather roller coaster. Boy, it's been up and down, up and down. How is that affecting your outdoor activities? I bet you haven't been ice fishing yet, have you? Don't forget about the Pure Michigan Hunt. This is the time right now to apply for the Pure Michigan Hunt. You can do it online. You can do it at a licensed agent. You can do it using the DNR app. $5 to apply. You can apply multiple times, which is what I do every year. And then I hear a story from the guy in the first hour, right? Bob Beaudry, first Youper ever to win the Pure Michigan Hunt. Do you know how many times Bob applied? Can you take a guess? Just one. For $5, he applied one time, and he got the waterfowl hunt, he got the turkey hunt, he got the bear hunt, he got the elk hunt, he got all the goodies. I am going to win the Pure Michigan Hunt eventually. I'm telling you that right now. I can feel it in my bones. I'll never win a lottery because I never play, but I do play the Pure Michigan Hunt. I am going to win the Pure Michigan Hunt. If it's not this year, it's going to be very time soon. You mark my words. It is going to happen. And if I do, I'm going to give away the waterfowl hunt to a buddy of mine. I'm going to give away the turkey hunt because I got that one pretty much covered on my own. I'll probably keep the bear hunt, but I'll want to go with Johnny Bowler, and I will definitely keep the bull elk hunt. What else? Oh, I posted this last week on my Facebook page, Mike Avery Outdoors on Facebook. I had a listener who was poking around the internet, poking around on YouTube, and he found some old Fred Trost Michigan Outdoors TV shows. And on one of those, he found a very young, dark-haired, fully haired Mike Avery on the show. And Fred was interviewing me because I'm standing on stage at one of their big buck nights holding the amount of a 31-inch Saginaw Bay walleye. But it's not a big old fat wintertime fish. It's a long, lean bullet of a fish. And Fred asked me on stage, on camera, the story behind this fish. And this is from like 1989-ish. It goes back a ways. And I said, Fred, the reason I decided to have this fish mounted, even though he's not a double-digit fish, he's not 10 pounds, is because this would have been one of the first fish ever stocked in recent history in Saginaw Bay. The fishery was only about 10 years old at the time, and this fish would have been one of the first fish they put in the bay. And I got to keep it. I got to catch it. And it was such an interesting story that I hung on to it. And they actually made me the featured angler of the week on the Fred Trost Michigan Outdoors TV show. That's kind of cool, isn't it? And that video is on my Facebook page. My website, by the way, MikeAveryOutdoors.com, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. I am on Facebook as Mike Avery Outdoors. I am on Instagram. If you're on Instagram, please follow me there as Mike Avery Outdoors. I'm on YouTube as Mike Avery Outdoors. I actually put the podcast version of the radio show up on YouTube every week. One listener says, a young listener says, why don't you do a video version? Believe me, you don't want to see a video version of me sitting here in the radio studio for 3 hours with a camera on me. I'll do the first 12 minutes of the show, but I won't do the whole 3 hours. And my email address is mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com, mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. I would love to hear from you. Let me know what's on your mind. If you have any questions for me for the Ask Avery segment, email is a great way to get them to me, mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Things you want to hear about, things you're tired of hearing about it, reach out to me. I'm here. I'm here for you, my brothers and sisters. Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. We'll take a break, wrap it up with Dixie Dave coming up. Thank you so much for joining me this week here on the Outdoor Magazine Show. It's a pleasure to do this, honor to do this. Indeed, it is a blessing to be here every week. I take your time seriously. I try to put the best show out there every week that I can. I try to find the best guests, the most interesting guests, and I try to wrap up each week's show with one of the best guys around. His name is Wild Game Chef Extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar, and he's with us once again. David, welcome back. How you doing, buddy?
Very good, Mike. And yourself?
I'm doing just great, just great. I still haven't been able to put down a big doe, but I've still got season left, so I'm not giving up.
Same here, same here. Been waiting for the big one to come by me, but it hasn't happened yet. But it might. There's a doe in our future freezer.
You've always got to have confidence and have faith, right?
Yep, that's why you sit in the woods.
Sit in the woods to relax and just reconnect and put some fish or wild game on the table or in the freezer. And when we get to that point, David, I'm thinking of you. What do you have?
You know what? I never thought I'd say this in my lifetime, but I got a pheasant recipe for pheasant season that's open in certain places.
Isn't that something, that late season? Yeah.
Wow. I'm sure there's people out there hunting them. I know my old chef there. He's out there.
Oh, I can guarantee you Tom Lounsbury's out there. So what do you got, David? Walk us through it, please.
Well, we got a pheasant with red wine, so you're going to need 2 pheasants. This could be for 4 to 5 people. You need 2 pheasants skinned and cut into 8 pieces, a medium onion diced up fine, 2 carrots quite thinly sliced, 3 to 4 cloves of garlic, a package of mushrooms. I like to use the whole ones and cut them in quarters, so you have a real nice hearty-looking meal here. A couple ounces of brandy, 1 to 1.5 cups of burgundy wine or red wine, whatever you're going to drink with this, by all means use it. And it's going to be a nice hearty dish. And let's see, we need about 1 to 1.5 jars of beef gravy, a lot of fresh ground pepper all over. I got here on my cheat sheet, plus for Mike, extra pepper.
Yep.
Flour to dredge and olive oil to saute. So you want to pick all the shot out of the birds. You can hold it up to a real bright light and look through it, and you'll be able to see if there's any feathers or anything driven into the meat. So you're going to dredge it in flour after grating the pepper all over, brown it on both sides. Do this in small batches so you can, work nicely instead of trying to crowd it and cool the pan down too much. Remove the meat to a baking dish, whatever kind of a casserole, maybe a nice, if you got a big one, to hold all of this stuff. And then the same hot saucepan, add a small amount of oil and saute up the onions, the carrots, the garlic, and the mushrooms for just a few minutes. Take this away from the stove. And if you like, you can add the burgundy or red wine first and then the brandy, and then it might not have so much of a flambe effect. So bring to a boil. And then if you need to add a little more pepper to this, you might want to do this. And then put in the jars of beef gravy, bring that up to a boil, and pour this over the pheasant. Now would be the time to taste it to make sure that this is what you're looking for. I bake this at uncovered, 350 degrees for an hour and a half. And what you want to do is make sure that the meat is falling off the bone. And it's ready to eat. And enjoy some of your hard-earned pheasant.
You said something about make this in small batches so you don't cool the pan down. What does that mean? What do you mean by that, Dave?
So instead of it browning, it's going to be more like boiling because the liquid from whatever product you're using. There's the brother-in-law working on the new house.
Tell Roger to knock it off.
Hey, knock it off, Mike said.
Oh, it worked.
Now he's mad at you.
It's okay. He can take it out on me in person.
He gets paid by the hour. Don't say that ever again to him.
David, also, you were talking about, looking at your cheat sheet. I'm thinking you've got recipes in your mind. I mean, the ones you used to cook day in and day out over and over and over, those will be ingrained in your brain forever, won't they?
I'm sure. Speaking of ingrained forever, they got the the fencing up to tear the restaurant down finally.
Oh, they do. I was wondering about that. We drove by on the freeway the other day. I was going to swing by there and take a look at it.
They got the fencing up today. It was just on Facebook, so they'll be ripping her down. I don't know what's going in there now.
Will you, if you get a chance and you're down that area, will you drive by and see that? What will your reaction be to that?
I'll probably cry.
Yeah.
I miss it every day. I miss cooking every day, Michael.
Do you really?
Yep, I tell you what, retirement is kind of a boring thing.
For
I don't
you.
think it's too much for me. Every night I was cooking, and now it's after dark, and it's a long time in between bed to watch TV.
Yeah, it gets dark so darn early. It is hard on people right now.
Yeah, it ain't fun. I'll tell you that much.
Well, hang in there.
I love cooking.
I know, and it was such a big part of who you are, and that's how people relate to you, Dixie Dave, the wild game chef.
I know that. I loved it.
Well, I think of you as Dixie Dave, the great guy and a great friend, and I'll look forward to talking to you next week, buddy.
Okay, and now are we still on for your meal for church?
Yes, we are. We can talk about that. We can talk about that when we talk to you here real soon. And we're going to make a few changes, but we can talk about that when we get together in person with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar. He's talking about the church dinner Saturday, March 2nd, the Trinity Monitor Wild Game Dinner at the Great Hall in Midland. Details on that coming up. My name is Mike Avery. The website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. The email address, Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Talk to you next week right here on Outdoor Magazine.